This video might divide opinion somewhat, certainly as to the principle that I'm talking about, but hopefully not about the law. So this is about data protection and filming people in public and these kind of things. So there are quite a number of different elements I'd like to talk about in this video. One is the reasonable expectation of privacy in a public place. The other one is a business's responsibilities regarding GDPR and data protection for its customers, and a few other things. So first of all, I've noticed that there's an increasing number of businesses on platforms like TikTok that are streaming its operations online. And in doing so, they are capturing their customers coming up to pay for the goods or the food in some cases, and they are streaming this online. Now, I had a rather amusing conversation, I'll call it, with someone on one of my videos yesterday on TikTok. Someone who claims to have a law degree from Harvard, which quite frankly I think is defamatory of Harvard, because he didn't seem to grasp the principles of data protection and how they apply in this situation when a business is filming and streaming its customers online for the world to see. Not least of which because he said that the business is not storing that video. Once it's streamed, it's gone. Well, clearly not, because I was able to do a video stitched with that video and comment on it, meaning, in fact, it's there permanently. Now, my use of that video is perfectly fine because it's a public interest. So at the very, very least, I have a reason to be using that portion of the video because it was no more than is necessary to make my point. And I wasn't the one that collected that information in the first place. But put yourself in the position of that business. If you are, as this guy clearly had in the shop, had a phone streaming, pointing at his customers, streaming them online to TikTok. And other people were obviously screen capturing and doing all sorts of other things. And so it made its way into a permanent format, which is the risk you take as a business. Now, as a business, if you set up CCTV, there are a number of different things that you need to consider. And it's proportionality and security and the amount of data and what type of data that you collect. Do you record the conversations as well? Because in this case, there was sound. So let's say that there was a conversation with one of the customers. Let's say they were on the phone with somebody and one of the members of their family was not to hear about that conversation, but nonetheless, by some fluke, it was picked up by this streaming, and then someone else broadcast it online, whatever, and their family member came across it. That could have a very detrimental effect on that person's life, which quite clearly is an intrusion of their privacy. So as a business, you have to take all of this into account. Most businesses will turn off the audio recording for that reason. If it's your home, even, if you have a camera set up and it's near the wall of your neighbor and it's picking up audio recording, courts have found that if it's picking up conversations in the neighboring garden, that is probably going beyond what is necessary to capture for the purposes that you set it up for in the first place. From a business perspective, it is certainly beyond what is necessary. So as a business, in my view, in that video that I gave on my TikTok video, in my view, that is not lawful. It's beyond the principles of data protection. It's more than is reasonable to capture, and the business shouldn't be doing it. As an individual, you may not have a problem with it. But for every one of you that has a problem with it, there might be one or two or more that does have a problem with it. I'm not really, I don't mind me being broadcast. Clearly, I'm on YouTube here. I don't mind my image being broadcast online. But what if I was in a particular place at a particular time and I didn't want my image to be broadcast online because perhaps I, as a semi-public figure here on YouTube with over 250,000 subscribers, perhaps I don't want someone knowing where I shop or where I am at a particular day and time and whatever. And my image is being streamed online, then I might mind that. So many of you may object to that. And that's why these principles are in place. So how much they capture, how they store it, it's got to be kept securely. Clearly, if it's being streamed online, it's not secure because it's online. Everybody can see it. Everybody can copy it, download it, share it, store it, whatever. So it's a very simple principle of law that is wrong. And yet the chap arguing with me on TikTok about it, claiming to have a law degree from Harvard, couldn't see the logic in that. So it just shows, if it is true that this guy has a law degree from Harvard, it just shows that even then there's a misunderstanding as to what the law is. So I'm telling you that's what the law is for business. If you have any kind of CCTV, avoid streaming it online like that. Similar principles would apply, though, if you are doing it from home, if you've got home CCTV and you are broadcasting that online. Now, one of the common arguments that comes back with this is that you have, quote, no reasonable expectation of privacy in a public place. That's not entirely true. It's a starting point, but it's not the end point. One of the examples by someone else in the comment section said, by way of a question, what if I were following someone around and filming them and streaming them online in a public place? That's very different to them being incidentally captured, or if they engage with you. I've often defended Charlie Veach on this channel, not because I sort of have allegiance or whatever else because he's on YouTube, but because the principle is a lawful one. If you are in a public place, generally speaking, you have no right to privacy. If someone confronts you and you film it, well, they confronted you, so in my view, that's fine. But if you walk up to someone, let's say in a cafe with their children and use your imagination, that would be, in most people's view, an invasion of privacy, even though they are in a public place. So it's not an absolute principle that there is no expectation of privacy in a public place. But the Court of Appeal has very clearly said that it depends on the circumstances. So if there is a situation that on the facts a court might determine that there is a reasonable expectation of privacy, then that will change. And so in that situation, where a court might find there is a reasonable expectation of privacy and it's been breached, then that can lead to difficulties. But then, of course, we come to the question, companies versus members of the public, because the vast majority of members of the public, even potentially citizen journalists, are not going to be caught in the same way as businesses will for data protection and GDPR and so on. But take the situation with schools. I hear an increasing number of schools that are putting CCTV inside the toilets, not the cubicles, I don't think, but certainly inside the room itself. And one of them that I read about, I don't really know if it's entirely true, because I just read it in a news article and I don't always believe everything that I read in the news, but it made its way into a reasonably reputable news organization, so it's probably true, that they had a screen outside of the toilets showing the inside, not the cubicles again, but the inside, the sink area. Now, doubtless, every child would object to that. Every child's parent would object to that. And you watching this video now might be screaming at the screen that that's absolutely wrong. It's a violation of their privacy. And I would agree. I would say that that's an absolute invasion of their privacy. Even if it's not in the cubicles, no one wants to be filmed going into the bathroom, whether it's just the sink area or what. Nobody wants that. It's beyond what is necessary in most circumstances. The only narrow exception might be is if the school has a large number of incidents inside those cubicles of children being attacked, drugs being used or dealt or whatever, or serious criminal damage within the room itself. Then if that's an ongoing problem and the school has absolutely no alternative to stamp that out, and they've done a serious data protection impact statement as to the measures that they want to put in place, if they've done all that and they come back to the position that that is the only way they can ensure that it stops, then they might be able to justify it. But otherwise, in almost every other situation, that's going to be beyond what is necessary. And so this principle of privacy has been debated back and forth. So I wanted to clarify one or two of those out in this video. And also, for the vast majority of you that are walking around in public, filming and vlogging and whatever, in the vast majority of cases, that's going to be perfectly fine. My guidance to you would be, don't sort of walk up to somebody that's in a cafe trying to obviously mind their own business and start filming them and stand there. That might be beyond what is necessary. And if it's a continuing thing, you may well be accused of harassment. If you, let's say, you follow them around on a number of occasions, then that could be chalked up as stalking and harassment and a number of other things. So do let me know in the comments. Would you be offended if a business was streaming your visit online for everybody to see? Do you think that's reasonable, or would you object? Would you file a complaint? I believe that this sort of thing is going to come to the attention of the ICO at some point. The ICO is probably going to put some kind of statement out about it. There's already extensive guidance for CCTV, both for businesses and for domestic properties. So I believe that this is going to hit the news at some point, and there's going to be some fines levied for businesses that are doing it in the worst possible way. So as I say, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know other questions you might have. On tangents, just while we're here on this subject, I've had questions about someone flying a drone, and is that an invasion of privacy? Well, again, it depends. For the vast majority of cases, no, because you're not likely to be identifiable from a drone height. And it's only if you are identifiable as a person that data protection is going to kick in. We actually had a real case for advice that came to us about a drone which was capturing people from far away, and on the face of it could not be identified, and so data protection laws are not likely to affect that situation. Similar questions if you are taking off a drone and then flying over another piece of land. Some people arguing that that's trespass and nuisance and all kind of things, but the court's already confirmed, albeit with a weather balloon and other kind of things years ago, that this is not trespass, it's not nuisance. But again, there might be some situations, let's say if someone brings it right down to a window, is flying near a window, looking in the window and all that sort of stuff, that might then start to breach those provisions. So leave me your questions, your thoughts, your comments in the box below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, because I want to reach 1 million of you to help you understand law. In the meantime, I thought that was an interesting thing to talk to you about, and thank you for watching.